And hey there, hi there, ho there, and a gracious good Saturday morning to you. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where we discuss the joy and excitement of UofL women's athletics. Certainly, some very exciting things that have gone on this week for Cardinal women's athletics, basketball and volleyball primarily, and those will be the two areas that we kind of review and talk about the future for today on the broadcast. We've got a foursome in here today. I'm being joined by Case, Jeff, and Jared. So let's kind of just catch up with the guys a little bit. Jared, a very, very busy man this week. Covered two basketball games and a volleyball game last night with his camera in tow, and also got an early softball sighting. So Jared has just been a man all around campus.
Yeah, busy enough to take off Thursday night from soccer, which now in hindsight probably for the better as they had a not great performance. But yeah, between Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday evening games for me plus a normal work week, I was happy to sleep in this morning.
Yeah, and we got turkey and dressing Wednesday night for the pregame meal at basketball. And boy, that was
Oh
good.
yeah,
Yeah, I definitely loaded up on that. Jeff McAdams in the house. He's still bouncing off the net and being called for long serves last night. A quick time, very quick time indeed at the LNFCU last night. The match lasted just a little over an hour, Jeff, from what you were saying, as the Cards swept Duke.
Yeah, it was really not enough to get my volleyball fix in. I was it came back home and I caught pulled up the replay on it, and from first serve until that final challenge was resolved and announced was an hour and 9 minutes and a few seconds. It was a very quick game, very very short clock time game. So um, it was fun. It was a good romp. I gotta say, I was a little nervous going into it. Duke kind of exposed us a little bit, some of the weaknesses of the team down in Durham, but none of that was in evidence last night. So it's a good day.
Another straight set sweep for the Cards.
Hmm.
Fantastic. Duke did give them a loss, so we'll get into that a little bit earlier on back on Halloween.
A set
Earlier,
loss, not the whole match.
yeah, one
Yeah,
set. Yeah. Obviously, the Cards at
yeah,
26-0 are still undefeated on the season,
right.
but Duke did hang a set loss on them earlier. But the Cards came back in fine fashion and swept them out the door of the LNFCU. Case Hoskins in the house with us today. Case has had an active and busy week as always, I'm sure. Case, what some of the stuff that floated your boat this week?
Oh, it's being back in the consulting engineering world, and you know, when you have a lot of school projects, the winter becomes your busy season as everybody wants to get their projects out and bid and set up so that they can do their schoolwork over the summer. So it's been a fun time getting back into the swing of things at work for sure.
You're making that haul from Shelbyville to Louisville now, downtown to not too far from the Yum Center, from what you were telling me.
Yeah, just a block down, we're on Main Street, in the old Four Roses building. So sitting right there on Whiskey Row, and I always don't mind if everybody complains about having to stay late, not wanting to stay late at our office just because it is downtown. And I'm like, well, I park in the garage because I don't feel like parking in the back parking lot. And if there's a Louisville game going on, I know that there's going to be plenty of traffic out walking around on Main Street in the evenings. So I don't mind having to work a little bit later those days.
That for sure. As for me, a busy week. A couple basketball games attended earlier in the week down at the KFC Yum Center to watch the Cards take on both Vanderbilt and excuse me, both Bellarmine and UT Martin. I don't know how I got Vanderbilt in there. And the Cards winning both of those impressively. And also, I had a lot of fun watching volleyball on the internet last night. Uh, for the most part, I did have to turn the sound down a couple of times for obvious reasons for me, but still enjoyed watching the action and enjoyed watching the Cards romp this thing. So all good, all good. I'm not sure where Daryl is today. Normally, she'll give us a little advance notice on whether she's going to be on the broadcast or not. But we certainly know she had a fun week too, and had the Friday write up too, or the Thursday write up, excuse me, of a women's basketball game. So She's out there somewhere. We know not where. Time of the show where we normally get into a little scheduling and Twitter information. So we'll go ahead and hand that over to Case Hoskins.
Yeah, the schedule is already underway for today, as swimming is wrapping up the third day of the Purdue Invitational in West Lafayette. That started at 9 a.m. for preliminaries, and the last day of finals will start at 6 p.m. Swimming currently sitting in second place, I believe, in that overall meet. Men's basketball taking on Detroit Mercy in the first. It's the first round of the Baha Mar Hoops Bahamas Championship, but this one is in Louisville. The team will head to the Bahamas early next week for their next game. That one is at 2 p.m. It'll be on the ACC Network Extra, and is, of course, in the KFC Center. Women's basketball is not at home. They are across quite a few time zones over in Seattle, Washington, taking on the Huskies of the University of Washington. That one starts at 2 p.m. Pacific time, so 5 p.m. Eastern. It is on the Pac-12 Plus. It's kind of an interesting setup that they have, not like ACC Network Extra or SEC Network Plus, where those are kind of looped in with ESPN. Pac-12 just kind of does their own thing. That's carried by some cable providers. There's also a link on the GoCard site to actually get to the live video stream online. Not clear if your cable provider does not allow you to watch those Pac-12 games, whether you will actually have access to that. But the link right now just takes you to something saying that nothing is playing at this time because nothing is playing at this time for Washington.
Yeah, and
But
this is one of those pay-for-view sites. If you decide not to keep it after your trial, you don't pay anything. They do give you the option of a trial. I was discovering that you can cancel, I think, a week after you've tried the network. So basically, fans, if you want to catch this thing online, all you got to do is just pop on there, watch it, and then cancel your service with them afterwards.
So interesting. The Pac-12 continues to do media things that lead you to wonder about the stability of the Pac-12 overall. But they continue to do many things that lead you to wonder about the stability of the Pac-12 overall. So media is just one of the pieces of the puzzle. As we are in the transition between fall and winter sports, we got Sunday and Monday off. Tuesday, women's basketball taking on Cal Poly. That's in San Luis Obispo, California. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern. No video listed yet. And with the opponent there may be no video ever listed for that one. That one will be available on 790. On Wednesday, volleyball takes on Pittsburgh for what will likely be Louisville's first opportunity to lock up the ACC title outright. I don't foresee Pittsburgh losing to Clemson tomorrow, but they could and grant Louisville that title before they even have to play Pittsburgh again. But that one is in the Pete, I think, the Peterson Event Center in Pittsburgh. And that one's at 5.
I thought it was the Fitz.
Is it the Fitzgerald or the
it's
Pete?
Fitzgerald. Yeah.
Because I know they've played in both over the years. I think this one's in the Fitz though, but maybe we can get a verification on that.
Nothing listed in the preview yet, so I guess we'll just have to see when that one gets closer. Either way,
it's on Pitt's site real quick. Yeah, it's Fitzgerald.
Okay, so in Fitzgerald Arena.
I know all the Pitt fans are glad it is because apparently they play like crap when they play in the Pete. So.
Louisville had that weird stretch where when they were playing all their home games at the Center, but they played better when they returned to Cardinal Arena.
Right.
Situation. So under the lights, I guess the teams just don't want to be in that situation. That one's at 5 p.m. No video is listed yet. I have to assume that's going to land on the ACC network somehow. Probably no video listed yet because they're not sure if that's going to get the linear treatment or if it'll be on ACC Network Extra. At 5 p.m. on a Wednesday, you'd have to think they'll want to get that one on TV, given the ramifications of it. On Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, men's basketball taking on Mississippi State. That one's at 9:30 p.m. So make sure you eat plenty of turkey so that you can fall asleep before having to watch what could be a debacle. Yeah, you can tell that just a couple of games in, I'm so high on this Louisville basketball team already.
Hey, a turkey sandwich and the Cards at 9 o'clock sounds great to me.
Yeah,
Knowing me, though, I will not see that.
that one's on CBS SN. On Friday, volleyball has senior day in L&N Federal Credit Union Arena. That one's at 5 p.m. taking on Notre Dame. And still no video listed for that one, but presumably it would be ACC Network Extra as well. And hopefully
canceled like Nebraska's senior day did.
If it doesn't get canceled, yeah, let's not try to put that juju on us.
Yeah,
but I mean, if it did, Louisville would already have the ACC title locked up at this point.
Yeah.
But hopefully Louisville is honoring their seniors and having an ACC title celebration that day. Would be neat if they knock off Pittsburgh and can go ahead and claim the title before they even have to play that last game. Saturday is football versus Kentucky. Still no final time announcement for that one. Have to assume they're waiting to see how Kentucky handles their cupcake game today and how other events go throughout the day to see where they want to place that one and what kind of video it's going to get. As well as men's basketball could be underway. They play at either 10 or 12:30, depending on their game against Mississippi State, and will play either Maryland or Richmond, depending on the outcome of both of those games. So that gets us through the week as we're getting further and further into the winter sports. And in these preseason tournaments, things are always a bit interesting. Volleyball could get a bit chaotic as they move into the postseason, and things will be very flexible from a schedule perspective then, as they usually are.
We definitely will look at is that if you take a look at just the possibilities on that, the Cards could play 4 straight NCAA games at home if they continue to win. That would be kind of cool, getting us all the way to the Final Four.
Put that home in air quotes for the third and fourth.
Well, in the city
of Louisville.
In the city, yeah.
Jeff jumping in with his clarification there. It will be in the city of Louisville. Now, the exact venue yet, it's kind of floating out there. Most people are thinking it's going to be Freedom Hall, but then again, that's also where Bellarmine does their men and women's basketball. And so there will have to be some negotiating going on right now. This is where we miss Tom George, because Tom would have this thing sold up and wrapped up already. So I'm saying, this is the way it's going to be.
It may already be, and just it's not announced as unofficial until we win that second round match, because if we don't win either, the first and second round matches, then it becomes a moot point.
Yeah, and that is the key, as we pointed out, Case. Just keep winning and we're fine, right?
Right.
Yeah. So those first 2 matches are in Cardinal Arena.
L&N FC. Yeah, they will be.
As I thought, because we only get into the capacity restriction problems once you get beyond those 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Which L&N FC Arena is going to be a tight squeeze when you're looking at 4 teams all forcing in there the first round. So get your tickets early if you can.
Make sure to dress in layers because it's going to get warm in there.
Yeah.
The heat will be on because it will be cold, but there will be plenty of people in there making you wish that it wasn't.
We were walking in last night, and Jared and Katie were right with us there, and my mother gave Jared and I grief about wearing shorts. And I was like, because we know it's going to be 85 degrees inside that arena.
I was still sweating inside there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as we move into Twitter, that was the wrap up on scheduling. I tweet is at best case scenario, BST case scenario. Polly is at Cardinal Couple. Jeff is at Card Couple Radio and at Jeff McAdams. Jared is at Mr. Anderson Jared. Daryl's at Daryl Faust 4. As always, you can keep up with the right side of the Cardinal Couple website for the Twitter list for all of the other relevant Louisville Twitter accounts, including swimming, which should be posting results around this time. So that is the best way to keep up with events that you're not able to watch yourself or any other reason you want to follow us on Twitter.
Absolutely, for sure. And I try to put up at least a quarter or a I guess, set listing on both volleyball and basketball whenever they're in action on Twitter, just to kind of put the basics out there to the score and maybe if somebody's done something outstanding or spectacular. So make sure and catch me on those. And we try to keep you involved and vested in what's going on with these two main activities right now in the women's sports realm. And let's go ahead and jump right on into it, guys. We'll start it out with volleyball. They were the latest Cardinal women's athletic squad to be in action. They brought Duke to the LNFCU last night. They had some nice big runs and coasted to a 3-set 25-12, 25-16, 25-15 victory. As Casey mentioned earlier, and Jared and Jeff have talked about it. It gets hot in there, but Jared and Jeff were there in shorts. I know. I was huddled up on my couch with a comforter watching online, and they were in shorts in the LNFCU. But what say you, Jeff? You've been following this team all year long. It was kind of a workmanlike effort where they got some big work out of Anna Stevenson and Amaya Tillman to put the Dukies down in straight sets.
Yeah, I think I said coming into this one, I said in a couple of different forums that I was a little bit nervous about it when we played in Durham, match that I, was able to road trip to go down there and see. Duke kind of showcased how best to attack this little team and showed where the weaknesses are in the team. That wasn't in evidence last night. I commented on Volley Talk forums about it, and I said, you run a quick set, you keep your sets low and fast, and beat the block, and then you use your hitting around, before the block is set up to take the defense out of system, and then you assume that you're going to get a set to the left side and set up your block there. So, to be fair, that's kind of how you attack every college team, but it's easy to say and hard to execute on with Louisville. And they were able to execute on that a little bit in Durham. They really weren't able to execute on that last night. They were not able to get the block going. I don't know if we were able to get the block established more quickly, relatively, or they just weren't getting their sets as quick. I don't know what happened, but it definitely, with an 8-1 blocking advantage, that game scout to try to win a game against a really, really good team didn't work out last night. So 8-1 blocking advantage. The one block for Duke was a doozy. I'll say that. It was a heck of a great block, but just couldn't get it. Couldn't execute on the full game plan there.
How well you hit the ball in volleyball is a definite key to how well your team will do. And last night, the Cards hit in the 3-set match eye-popping 54.7%. On the other side, the Cards put up a very good defense and forcing Duke into just a 0.8% hitting. So a whopping 52% different advantage there in hitting.
What was the graphic they threw up? It was like 750 hitting in the first set. I mean,
778 in the second set. Yeah,
mind-boggling.
547 was dropped down by the 333 they hit in the third set, which was their worst by a long
margin.
Yeah.
333. Yeah,
because I think I tweeted that they were hitting 750 in the second set alone at one time, and they finished quite well in that second set as well. Jared, you were down there on the floor taking pictures and stuff. Were you in danger at any time with all these shots going flying by you?
Yeah, sometimes those balls do come flying right on at you, and when a majority of your hits and your attacks are landing on your opponent's side of the court, there, it's going to be a quick match as well. And just looking at the box score, the fact that we held Duke to 0% attack percentage in two different sets is just outstanding. It's impressive.
It is impressive indeed. Anna Stevenson stepped up big for the Cards as she led both teams in kills with 10 of them. Claire Chaussee bringing in 7, Anna DeBeer producing 6, Amaya Tillman with 5, and Iko Jones with 4. Every player that hit hit better than 250%, which is to be expected with the overall hitting percentage, of course. And Anna Stevenson in the middle is just something that continues just to amaze me game after game, guys.
She is amazing. Her height that she gets on her jumping just gives her so many options. And you look at her swing, and it is so unconventional. It's so quirky. You're like, how does that work? But I mean, obviously, it clearly does. So it's all right. Let's go with it. So she's been amazing. She is a super senior. She and Tori Delfer both are. So this is her last go around with us, and they're both really just making the most of it, and it's spectacular.
Serving, of course, is also a very big aspect in how well you do. If you serve well, traditionally you're going to do pretty good in the game of volleyball. Case the Cards had a big advantage last night in the service game, as they ended up with 12 aces off the serve. That's pretty spectacular, sir.
Yeah, they've been really improved this season so far in serving, which has been a big boon since that's been one of their major issues in recent seasons. Checking just the overall, they've trimmed their difference down to just 50 negative overall on the season, aces to errors, with 153 aces so far this season. Opponents nearly 100, or actually, 141 in the negative. So Louisville really winning that service battle all season, and it was evident again last night. They picked up 5 total points in the service game, which doesn't seem like that many, but it's a fair margin for any number of when you look at those total service numbers between both teams. 5 is a pretty big difference overall. And to the point that Duke was really struggling with the serve receive, as Jeff pointed out, at one point dropping 5 players into serve receive and still getting aced. Louisville was just kind of on another level last night.
Can we sneak a couple extra out on the court there? Can you give us a break here, ref? Holy cow, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, basically that means you've got all your hitters back, all your defensive players. The only person up at the net is the setter, ready to receive the pass. Yeah, and they're still getting smoked on the aces. It was. I looked at that, and I just kind of shook my head. It's like, if you're Jillian Nagel, what do you do, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was not Duke's night, like you mentioned, Jeff.
Yeah.
In the first matchup between these two, Duke was able to find some holes in Louisville's game. They were able to exploit a little bit of that. They had the benefit of being at home. Louisville obviously watched quite a bit of tape on that match before this one, and made sure that Duke was not going to be able to exploit anything like that again. And then with the boon of being at home themselves, to finish with just 5 total errors for the entire match. Had more blocks than errors. They had more aces than they had twice as many aces as they had errors. I mean, Louisville was just extremely efficient in this match. Easily their best hitting match of the season, regardless of the difference. Almost 50 points higher than or I think more than 50 points higher than their previous high for the season. So Louisville just really couldn't put a foot wrong last night, and it showed.
We speak a lot of offense and the credit that it richly deserves in the game of volleyball, but hey, let's look at the other side of the ball too. This Cardinal defense has been nothing short of spectacular this year. We've mentioned Anna Stevenson and her domination in the middle, but let's talk about freshmen just a little bit, guys. Elena Scott stepping in from Mercy High School this year and coming in and playing some very good defense. 8 digs last night, Jared, as she was all over the place in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you look at a full match and you think, oh, your defensive specialist, your libero, only has 8 digs, you're like, that's kind of odd. But then again, you got to credit that to the blocking and just the presence at the net that UofL had. I mean, full 8 blocks, and then on top of that, you forced Duke into a total of 21 attack here. So it takes a lot of pressure off your back line, and then when your back line is called in action, they do an excellent job. 21 digs on the night, which is nearly a 50% dig percentage when say however you want to call that, Jeff. There when gave up 23 kills but against 21 digs. But I mean, it's just great defense all around, and a lot of it just starts with the presence at the net, and then you're able to kind of work your offense that direction as well.
Let's talk about that net success, Jeff, as it were. The Cards on the front line in defense, they're just a very formidable foe to try to get anything past, aren't they?
They really are, and it is really key to our ability to play well, play an overall match well. Um, we do largely live by the block, die by the block. If our blocking isn't there, if it's not performing well, if we're not getting in place, then we have a rough day. We've seen that in a couple of matches so far. The Duke game that we mentioned and Durham, the Pitt game back in LNFCU had some of that same thing going on. So it absolutely is a big part of our that net play, the blocking, getting good blocking there. It does cut down the amount of space that the defense has to cover in the back. With Atlanta covering 2/3 of it, is amazing. And I want to shout out a little bit here that Libero is a really difficult position, and Libero DS is a really difficult position to capture in statistics because there just aren't that many statistics. I've said this before in Cardinal Couple, but there just aren't that many statistics that really capture what they do. It's all about digs. It's about it. But that means that you've got an incredible there was an incredible scramble play last night that the pass was way off. Aiden Bartlett goes running back into one corner, gets it up, but it kind of goes off to the other corner, and Elena goes running off to the other corner and bumps it backwards over her head from the back row all the way to the other side of the net. And then we promptly get a Stevenson block out of it, right? And I think, Case, you highlighted that play in the article today, right?
Yeah.
There's no stat in there for either Aiden or Elena on that, right? They don't get any stats for that play, but it was a key momentum play and kind of a dagger play in there. So it's frustrating because I would love to see liberos and defensive specialists get more attention and more love, but they just in the stats. How do you capture that? I don't know.
You mentioned that it doesn't go down on the stat sheet, but being a momentum play, not just in the match overall, but even in the particular point rally,
right.
Louisville being able to get that ball back over and, like you said, ending it with an Anna Stevenson block because you get immediately deflated when there's a bad pass and it seems like it's going to kind of spin out. And Louisville has shown that they're not giving up on plays all season. You've seen players go into scoring tables. You've seen them almost end up in the stands. Whether they're able to get to the ball or not, they're not giving up on balls that are in some way seem to be manageable. So Louisville gets that ball back over, and then I think I highlighted this one in our text group that the Duke player appeared to jump as high as she possibly could, tried to jump out of the gym, and Louisville's blocking just pops off the screen. She jumped as high as she could, and then Anna Stevenson and I think Tori Dilfer got in on that one as well. She couldn't even hit it over their hands. I mean, they were just there. They're always lurking and right in the middle.
A fantastic effort by the Cards as they dispatch of Duke and send them back down to Tobacco Road. A team that's kind of middle placed in the ACC. They're not the worst team, but obviously not one of the best teams. But a convincing win for the Cards. All eyes now turn toward Wednesday in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the Fitzgerald Fieldhouse, where Pittsburgh will be holding their Panthers senior night. If it wasn't bad enough that the Cards were coming in to play them, they've got to sit there and endure senior night ceremonies as well for the Panthers. One of those things, sure. But, you go through it, whether the Panthers come out and get fired up by that, or whether the Cards can put on their normal start of game dominance. We shall see, but Jeff, this is the rematch. This is the one we've been looking forward to.
Yeah, you say this is the one we've been looking forward to. I want to just say that this is nationally the one people are looking forward to. Again, the first pit was kind of circled on everybody's calendars nationally in the volleyball world. And this one again is everybody's going, okay, here's the match of the week to look at. It is not going to have radical implications on NCAA seedings or anything at this point. I don't think, because at this point, if either team, if they lose, the loss to the other team is not so bad as to be that much of a significant impact. But it should. Everybody's going to look at this and go, "This should just be an amazing match of volleyball, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch." And it is. It's two very top teams in the league, top 1 and 2 in RPI, I think is. Maybe 1 and 3. I don't know. Pitt may have gotten passed by Texas. I don't remember now, but. It's just, this is top level volleyball. It's going to be the best volleyball you're going to see all season, I think. But it's also the last real likely chance that Louisville takes a loss on the season. We still have the Notre Dame match.
Yeah, I was going to say that last match against Notre Dame. Bite your tongue.
Yeah, I know. It's
never
you never know
normal.
with Notre Dame. You never know with Notre Dame, but we should be able to beat them. We're a better team than Notre Dame, but we'll see. It's going to be fun either way.
It will be a fun one up at the Fitzgerald Fieldhouse, and we were kind of discussing, whether this was going to be at the Peterson Event Center, where Pittsburgh doesn't tend to play as well as they do in the Fitzgerald Fieldhouse. So, Jared, the Cards are going up there. That target on the back is unmistakable. Number 1 team in the nation, going up against what can be considered their main foe in the ACC, the return match on the Panthers' home court. The Cards are going to have to be on ball for this one, aren't they? They're just going to have to be a team that's ready to come out and withstand everything that Pitt can throw at them on a senior night. That's a tough call.
Yeah, you just got to, excuse me, you got to play like you did last night, where you're just firing in all cylinders. Great presence with the blocking, excellent serving. The attacks were on point, as we discussed earlier, with some incredible hitting percentages. I mean, you got to have everything running in your favor when you're going up to Pitt playing there. It's going to be a big crowd. Pitt's still fighting for that ACC title, which, as of right now, is still possible. You kind of think that even with a loss, that UofL could just cruise by Notre Dame and secure that title. But in Pitt's mind, I mean, they could still get that and work their way up to a higher seeding in the NCAA tournament as well. But you just got to go in and play your game. Look at the success that you had against Pitt in the first match and what went well for you, and maybe address some of the issues that you ran into and be able to clean those up, and just kind of enjoy this Sunday off and an extra couple days of rest.
Knowing full well, of course, that Pitt will be reviewing that same game footage from earlier this year, looking at the areas where they were a little bit lacking in and making strides to improve in those areas as well for their game against the Cards. When I look at this thing, Jeff, it's definitely at the least going to be on the ACC Network Extra. We can be assured of that, right? But isn't this in a game that basically deserves to be on maybe ACNN proper, or maybe even another network that could show this thing, because this is a huge matchup.
It's a huge matchup. I don't know how much these are really set in stone ahead of time. But yeah, I think if there's flexibility on this, they should be looking to figure out what to do with it. It is listed for, I don't know. It is listed for ACC Network. So it will be on the linear ACC Network. But yeah, I mean, I think it would be, I don't know what conflicts there might be, but if they could bump that up to ESPNU at least, I think that would be a good call. Again, that has implications for who's doing the calls, and who's in a lot of things out. So I don't know how much that gets set ahead of time and how much flexibility they have to change it, but it's big. I know there's going to be a lot of people, some West Coast volleyball fans that are not going to be real thrilled about this being on ACC Network because they're not going to be able to watch it. So.
Well, we shall see on that for sure. The Cards, the Panthers, Wednesday night. This is must-see TV if you're a Louisville women's sports fan, for sure. So make sure and catch this one. Hopefully the Cards will go up there and be able to complete the series with a win against them, taking both of them this year.
I just did a quick double check. ESPN2 has VCU versus Syracuse college
Oh,
basketball
boy.
scheduled on at 5 on Wednesday, and ESPNU has Loyola Chicago versus Michigan State scheduled for 4:30 on Wednesday. So
Yeah.
I don't know that
Unlikely to bump
the
Yeah.
the collective conscience is not likely to see that get bumped now that basketball season's
Nationwide,
playing.
yeah, we don't basically rank in there with that. Although it is a shame because
Yeah.
this is a huge matchup, and I
Not till tournament time.
Yeah.
that's the way it kind of rolls there. Final thoughts on volleyball, guys, before we move to a different size ball on a different type surface. Jeff, anything else?
I just call out the ACC is likely to get probably 6 teams into the NCAA tournament at this point. Some bracketology posts I've seen have had 5 of them being seeded teams, which is pretty impressive. A lot of people are looking at Notre Dame. Notre Dame is likely not even going to be eligible to be able to make it into postseason play at all, let alone get selected for it. So they're at 11 and 14 currently, so they have to win all 3 of their remaining matches to win. Their first one's against Virginia Tech. Yeah, maybe they win that. Then they play Florida State. Probably not. And then they play us. So, they're not going to win all 3 of those. They're going to lose somewhere along the way. So,
I was going to mention one more thing about the rankings. With that loss to Pitt last night, Georgia Tech actually unlikely to even come in third in the league. And Pittsburgh is not just playing for a share of the title, they're playing potentially for a share of second place if they lose to Louisville. Because Miami,
13-3 right now,
who hit
Quietly.
zero on the match to open the season, the ACC regular season against Louisville, is third in the league.
Quietly sitting there at third in the
13 and 3
and receiving votes nationally. So
the Hurricanes out of
think
nowhere.
I think they're getting overlooked a lot, to be honest. Yeah.
The Canes will sneak up on you, that's for sure. And I'm sure that Sebastian, the Ibis, is down there doing his dance for them as well. Miami, a team to watch. They could make a little bit of impact perhaps down the road. Let's take it on over to round ball basketball style as the Cards, as we mentioned earlier, engaged in a couple of games earlier this week. They brought in crosstown ACC rival foe Bellarmine on a Tuesday evening and dispatched to them with not too much trouble, an 82-25 win for Louisville over the Knights. The next night they invited UT Martin up. UT Martin, who had just come off a long road trip, had 1 day's rest, and then, boy, guess what? Get on the bus, kids. We're going to Louisville to play the number 6 team in the country. That's going to be fun, isn't it now? Martin came up. The Cards, that one, 62-30. Nice, 2 nice wins for Louisville as the fans got a chance to come in. And a nice attendance for those. I think we had a little, right around the 7,000 mark from what I could tell, Jared, at both games for that. And a crowd that was certainly appreciative to see Louisville back home and certainly cheered the Cards on.
Yeah, weeknight game, early season against a pair of teams that you expect Louisville to win. Getting 7,000 out there is certainly a good crowd. We'll see that start to pick up as ACC season gets closer, as well as the UK game, which is about 3 weeks away from now. The Bellarmine match I was pleased with, and I thought the offense looked good. Defense was about as excellent as you could ask for, only giving up 25 points. And then moving to the next night, defense once again I thought looked really great, and then the offense, other than Emily Engstler, was just rather flat. And that's a lot of the college basketball experts kind of question that going into this season with the departure of Dana Evans, if Louisville would be able to find an offense, and it wasn't fully there on Wednesday, so we'll see what adjustments need to be made there.
Cards are, if they did not know the name Emily Engstler before the season started, they should certainly know it now if they're women's basketball fans for UofL. Engstler with a massive 12 point, 14 rebound game against Bellarmine. She said, "You know what? I can shoot this three a little bit too." And she came up against UT Martin, went 4 for 4 from 3-point range, 20 points, and only had 2 rebounds. Gee, I guess, we can call her out for that maybe only. But, 20 points, I think, makes up for a lot of sins there, guys.
Yeah.
Emily Ainsley just pops on the scene, and she's one of those tough, hard-bitten New York chicks that comes out and just pretty much says it the way it is. She goes, "Yeah, I thought I could make the shot. They kept getting me the ball in a good place. I took the shot. I made it.
Yeah.
What's it? What? What do you expect of me?"
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to get any rebounds if you're not missing shots. But
That's right. That's right. Uh, in case we look at games like this, and they're kind of tune-up games, obviously for later on down the road for the Cards. But I can't find a lot of chinks in the armor of this starting lineup right now here. With they listed as a 4-guard set. I don't know if you want to call Inkster a guard or not. I look at her as more of a small forward, but anyway, that's the way they break it down. With Van Lith and Smith, Inkster, Chelsea Hall, the transfer who came to us from Vanderbilt, and of course, starting with Cochran in the middle and usually bringing in Liz Dixon as their playing time, pretty much evenly split between them. Okay, this is a lineup that came back well from Arizona. They're doing pretty good.
Yeah, it's a lineup that you're not gonna change too much. Those players are I think the right choices to be going with. I think the one that is concerning, I don't know if you want to call it a chink in the armor just yet, but Haley Van Lith has just been off to an incredibly slow start. It was really masked in that Arizona game by the fact that she went 11 of 12 from the free throw line. But she's made 1 3 so far this season. She's, I think, 1 for 11 from beyond the arc so far this year. Against Bellarmine, she went 4 for 4 from 2, which was good, but just 1 for 3 from 2-point range. Played the most minutes on the team against UT Martin and had just the 4 shot attempts total, 1 basket, 0 for 2 from the free throw line. It's just not really what we expected, and I think that the struggle is she's trying to find her role, find her way without Dana Evans. The two of them kind of played off of each other. There was no, I'm not really sure you could call either of them a true point guard versus a true 2 guard in last season. They both could kind of float. And then with the introduction of Chelsea Hall, she's not really a player that you expect to be a scorer. You expect her to be more of a true point guard, and I think that Haley Van Lith maybe is just trying to find exactly what that means for her role in this Louisville team. So far, you've got Kiana Smith, who's a shooter, a spot-up shooter. Emily Inkster, like you said, plays a hybrid 3-4 spot that's just going to kind of dominate and do whatever she wants, similar to, I don't know, Kevin Durant in that, not only to describe that as whatever position she wants to play is what she's going to kind of find success in. And then Haley Van Lith still just kind of out there in no man's land, it feels like. There's plenty of time to change that, but I haven't seen it yet.
I'm not going to be very harsh and critical on Haley at all because, as Jeff Walls will point out to you, Case, Haley does a lot of things on the court that don't involve scoring.
Oh, absolutely. I wasn't trying to be overly critical of Van Lith. Just to say that, for anybody who's wondering why she's not popping off the screen like we maybe expected her to coming into this year, I feel like that might have something to do with it. It's just trying to find that role offensively. Like you said, she's doing tons of things. She's been distributing more. She's getting good assist numbers. She's active defensively. It's just not really popping up as the star power we might have expected offensively so far.
After this 5, the Cards start out there. Jared, let's take a look, and there are actually 5 very, very good players that can come right off the bench here and fill in, and Louisville really loses nothing when you bring in a Liz Dixon or a Casa Robinson, let's go even further down, Alana Smith, Narika Kono, even Peyton Verhulst getting some key minutes here. This is a very deep Cardinal squad, Jared.
Yeah, I think we see that every year. Is we're going to see a lot of players see some time and action on the court, and then you get to conference play. It dwindles down a little bit to about 6, 7. Although I think this year may be kind of a different year, as you mentioned. A lot of players that can really come in and not miss a beat. Liz Dixon, a little bit of a slow start to the year. I thought she looked excellent when we played the scrimmage against Union University, and then since then she's kind of really reverted back to some of her old ways. So maybe just needs to take some time, sit down one-on-one with one of the coaches, and figure out what's going on there. But Mikasa Robinson, especially with her defense, you can rely on her to be your face guarder on a point guard coming down the court. So no worries with her on the defensive end. Still like to see her do a little bit better on the offensive side, being able to drop a couple buckets here and there. Just enough to force the opposing defenses to respect you and open up somebody else on the court. Peyton Verhulst already showed that she's got signs of the shooter in her. Don't really have to worry about what she's going to do with taking shots out there. And if they're dropping, they're dropping. I'm not going to complain if you're taking shots and they're going in. Alana Smith really broke out with some speed that I think surprised all of us this week, Paul. Just
quick.
And
yeah,
I kind of like that speed, and I'm assuming that's something she's been working in the off season on, and really got the chance to shine. Narika Kono's finally getting comfortable with the feel of the American style basketball. I thought even Romani Parker and Marissa Russell at times showed some glimpses of promise as well, and I think that time in the Canadian national team really worked well for Marissa Russell. So there's plenty of players who can step in case you run into issues with foul trouble or the dreaded illness that may arise as well. So I'm feeling pretty good going down in the long stretch, the long haul with this team.
And I think that's one of the things that you try to accomplish and get done here in these pre-conference early season. I like to call them tune-up games, where you bring in an opponent that you're pretty well expected to beat, and it gives Coach Walls a chance to try a lot of different combinations. From what we've seen, for example, Liz Dixon is maybe 14 minutes a game in the last couple games. Maybe she needs a little more time to get on track. Maybe she knows that, I'm only going to play 14 or 15 minutes, and then I'm going to be sharing that with Cochran. And then at the end, they're going to, make sure that they get Romani Parker in here to play some post as well. But Emily Inksler, she is the one who has stepped in and said, you know what, I kind of was the forgotten player to a certain extent up at Syracuse for a few years up there. We had a lot of talent on the Syracuse team. I wasn't the main attraction, but Coach Walls told me to come down here and play the kind of basketball he knew I could, and that's what I've been doing. So if I've got to give this team an MVP nomination for this early in the season, I go with Inksler. That's my choice so far.
Yeah, I don't think there's much to argue there.
Yeah. Another aspect of this, too, with the Cards as well, is that Walls obviously wants to, as long as he can, play as many players as he can in these early tune-up games to kind of get a feel for what he can whittle down to maybe, a rotation of 9, 10 players as the season gets deeper into it as well. They're going to have a serious test today, guys, and then let's not make any light of this whatsoever. Up at Washington today, okay? This is a Washington team that was not all that great last year. Let's face it, they didn't have the best of seasons, so they decided, you know what, we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to go get ourselves a new coach, and they brought in, of course, a very, very good coach up there for their program indeed, in Tina Langley, who came in from the Big 12 out there to take over the program. They also brought in a center by the name of Mulkey. It's not any relation to Kim Mulkey, so don't get your hopes up on that. This young lady is 6'9", a sophomore that is 6'9", and played with Tina Langley last year. And Tina said, "Hey, I'm going north and west. You want to go up there with me?" And she said, "Sure, why not? Let's go on up there and see what's happening." So, Jeff, this is not a team that you can overlook. I know that there were going to be a lot of Haley Van List family and friends in the crowd today, but Rice got a big loss when Langley and Mulkey left to go to Washington, and they are poised to come out. They're 2-0 right now. They beat San Diego State, a pretty decent team. The Cards can't go in there and take this one lightly at all.
No, I mean Washington has built a bit of a tradition in women's basketball. You get Kelsey Plum coming out of there. She was a pretty decent player too. So
Not a bad ball player.
yeah, so there's a little bit of a tradition there, and I do want to say I love. This is a thing that Jeff Walls does as part of the philosophy of what he schedules is he tries for particularly players that are farther away from home to try to have at least once during their career at UofL to schedule a game at least near their home so that their family and friends can come out and see them more easily. Obviously that gets a little more challenging for players like Norika Kono. But, for somebody like Haley Van Lith coming out of the West Coast, Erica Carter and, some of the other players that are, Arizona and California, stuff like that, to be able to get out there and to make sure that you're scheduling out there is kind of a nice touch that I'm very appreciative of. So it makes trying to get media streams a little bit of a challenge sometimes, but we'll work through that.
Yes, indeed. And as we mentioned it to start off the broadcast, the case discussed a little bit. This is going to be on the Pac-12 Network Plus, and I, for example, I have cable television. I won't be able to watch it on cable TV, though. I'm going to have to resort to watching it on the internet and going through a trial basis with the Network Plus. I imagine a lot of Cardinal fans will try to do the same case. Well, we want to see the game live. Of course, there's nothing wrong with the radio broadcast on this. Ncaa did do a great job, but if you want to see it live, you're going to need to sign up for the Pac-12 Network Plus and then cancel it.
Yeah, I
in this
actually
day
wasn't
and
even.
time,
I actually don't even get with YouTube TV the Pac-12 network.
No,
that was
it's
not
not
a
on there.
listed,
It's not on
not
there.
a
It's
listed provider.
not on DirecTV either.
Yeah, so it's definitely like I mentioned a little bit earlier, Pac-12. When it came to the media blitz that all of the primary conferences did, Pac-12 was a little bit on the back foot there, and I think they're kind of struggling with that one. Nobody, I think, in the Pac-12 was very happy with their commissioner, and this is just another reason why. But going back to Washington, I think that Louisville is a bit lucky that the team was not, maybe not quite as competitive with the departure of Kelsey Plum, that they didn't lose Haley Van Lith to Washington. I think that there was some conversation between the two of them, the opportunity for her to get to stay home, and Louisville able to sway her into coming out here, I think was a huge get. So like you mentioned, it's great to see Louisville try to schedule teams that are going to get players back closer to home. I mentioned a little bit Kiana Smith and Romani Parker. Both their families about 2.5, 3 hours away from San Luis Obispo. That's about how long Haley's family is going to have to drive today to get to Washington, to Seattle. So it is good to see those. And I was looking into it. This is only the 5th game all time that Louisville women's basketball has ever played against a team from the state of Washington. They've played they played Wazoo twice and they played Gonzaga twice. They are 3-1 against teams from the state of Washington, with one of those losses coming to Gonzaga. But this will be a new adventure for the Cards taking on this team.
Certainly will indeed. And Jeff Walls, and we can talk a little bit about this, had mentioned earlier in the week that he was running into some logistical questions from our favorite 4-letter word, the NCAA, on keeping the team out there the entire time. Now let's be honest and let's be logical about this. Sure, let's go ahead and play the game in Washington. Do you really want to send this team back home because they got to go back out again on Thursday and take on Cal Poly? And then do you want to send them back home again? Because they've got to play Colorado State on December the 2nd. Walls just wants to make it a long trip out on the West Coast. They've already went ahead and set up Thanksgiving plans for them out on the West Coast. But the NCAA is kind of being a little stodgy here and saying, we don't know if you can do that yet or not, Jeff. It makes perfect sense to me, Jared. When you're out on the West Coast, you got 3 games. Why not stay out there?
Yeah, there's really no purpose other than a giant waste of money to have to pay for flights back and forth, especially now as you see a lot of flights getting canceled due to a labor shortage and the expenses of gases being being pretty high. Why not just let them enjoy a nice, I wouldn't call it a road trip, but a nice trip out to the West Coast, do some exploring, see the country some, because once you get older, you don't get to travel as much. And I remember my days in college and those free trips I got to take with band and whatnot. Those off days were nice. May need to do a little practice and whatnot here and there, but it's good team bonding. It's a good time just to get out and explore, see other parts of the country. Uh, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense other than it's just kind of the NCAA trying to overly govern what teams do.
I think that the NCAA wouldn't have had any problem with the game against Cal Poly, that one being on Tuesday, so they would have missed the 2 school days, Monday, Tuesday, for travel anyway. So it makes sense to stay out there just the extra day Sunday after playing Washington. I would say that their hang up is probably the remaining for 8 total days on the road, even though they do only miss 2 school days because Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are off because of Thanksgiving. So that would be Jeff Walls' argument, to which the NCAA would probably respond, yes, but you're keeping them away. I mean, it always is odd to me when the NCAA says that you have to have some certain holiday breaks when all the players are not home anyway, so what's the point? But I think that their argument is just that you've got those 5 days between the Tuesday game and the Sunday game, and I disagree. I think that Jeff Walls is in the right to just try and keep them out there. Like I said, they're not missing any extra school. The holiday is would be a team activity anyway, so if it's a team activity in Louisville or a team activity in Colorado or Nevada or California, wherever they end up by Thursday, I don't think that there's any big difference there. So NCAA has some logistical rules that exist, and I think Jeff Walls probably expected that he would be able to get a waiver on this one pretty easily, and it's just a bit frustrating that the NCAA is pushing back for what doesn't really seem like any good reason.
Yeah, it's just typical NCAA nonsense here, trying to put their foot in a shoe that doesn't fit. But anyway, let's hope that the Cards will be able to have a good long stay. And we're going to give you guys a quick recall memory test right now. Who was the last Pac-12 team that Louisville played?
Probably Stanford.
There you go.
I
Jared
think so,
right
yeah.
off the bat with it. That, of course, in the NCAA tournament. Stanford, of course, sending the Cards to the sidelines last year. So it's time to beat up on the Pac-12 in revenge for that one, indeed. I see a Cards getting a close win here. I think there'll be a little bit of road nerves out there. There will be the logistical trouble, maybe at start of dealing with a 6'9" center. That could be a little catchy at times. She's tall. If she can jump a little bit, I don't know. We'll see.
Tall
what
doesn't mean
happens.
good, though.
It does not. That's true. But certainly, I think that you would rather have somebody 6'9" in the post than 5'9". And Washington has been able to pull that off with a new coach, a new center, and new aspirations. But
Yeah, Jared, I would agree that tall doesn't mean good, but preseason all Pac-12 and Lisa Leslie Award watch list might mean good.
yeah, and then I watched her play a little bit last year down at Rice. She was kind of a stumbling, bumbling freshman, but you could tell that there was a lot of uptick to the way she was learning the game and some of the things she could do out there. I do think if you put a hard pick into her, though, and kind of block her off a little bit, she doesn't have quite the body structure to be able to withstand a lot of pounding on the defensive end of the court from the Cardinals And let's face it, Olivia Cochran and Liz Dixon can definitely set some very hard picks and can definitely body up against anybody in this league for sure.
We'll go at her early and get her in foul trouble.
Could be the possibility you see where she spends a little time on the floor picking herself up and then complaining that she didn't get a whistle on a basketball play. That's what we'll call it. But so good luck to the Cards today. And golly, believe it or not, we have already flown through an hour here on the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast. A fun discussion today on the two main sports that we've been covering as of late. So let's just go ahead and roll it on into our final thoughts then. So we'll go ahead and start it out with Jeff this week. Jeff, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I'm just gonna shout out real quick. Starting about now is NWSL championship game. This is on CBS. It is at Lynn Family Stadium downtown, hosted here in Louisville. Somebody posted on Twitter a picture of their media station, and it had a little mini bottle of bourbon. They said, "Well, we're definitely in Louisville." So, yeah. Of course, it's sponsored by Cooper's, so that's part of it. But yeah, so check it out. It's should be a good game. Obviously, Racing Louisville's not in it, but Washington Marine and who's the other team? I don't remember. I'm drawing a blank now.
Chicago, I believe.
Red Star, right? Chicago Red Stars. Yes, that's it. Going on. Should be
sold over 10,000 tickets.
That's awesome. Yep. Oh, there we go. So that's cool. Support soccer and women's soccer. Awesome.
We're becoming a soccer town. That's what they say. Case, what you got for us?
Yeah, not a lot on the Louisville side, like Jeff mentioned. He went with NWSL. I'll go with announcements, pretty big announcements by two major women's basketball organizations in the country. Some playoff expansion. NCAA announced their expansion to 68 teams in March Madness to match the men's tournament. And then WNBA announced their expansion of the first round to all be best of 3 series this season instead of single elimination. So good to see. Expansion of postseason usually means that they have a reason to do it. Sometimes you do things a little prematurely, but this one feels like WNBA trying to ride the high of the coverage that they were getting during their most recent postseason and expanding that coverage, which could hopefully lead to an expansion of the league, like people have been waiting for a very long time. And I was thinking how funny it would be this morning if the first 2 top tier professional teams in the city of Louisville both ended up being on the women's side with NWSL and WNBA. If that came to pass.
It would indeed. Jared, final thoughts?
Just remaining disappointed with a lot of that local media still not giving volleyball any recognition or credit they deserve, not showing up to matches, and they're obviously not busy occupied with women's basketball either, as we've noticed with the first couple of home games. It's kind of like, what are y'all doing? Taking a break? Because both teams are they're excellent programs, and they deserve to be getting a lot more attention and recognition that they've been getting so far.
You have 2 top 10 teams on the women's side. Nothing to speak of on the men's side like that. But, of course, our media, excluding us, of course, tends to concentrate on the foils of Satterfield and whose turn is it to run the basketball team until Mac comes back. I think, Jared, they said you could coach them next week, so had some fun with them.
I won't make us lose to Furman.
Yeah, that could be a little bit of a poop. Final thoughts for me. I'd like to kind of just give a shout out to the UofL student athletic development guys down there. The UofL SAAC and so many more student athletes down there. They have put together 75 Thanksgiving meals to deliver to families in Louisville, donating food and money and such to do that. Just a wonderful outreach into the community by the Cardinal athletic community, taking care of those who have not taking care of those who aren't as fortunate as them. That's certainly a building block to success later on in life for these student athletes, coaches, and well. And so proud of y'all for doing that. Let's see if we can do 150 next year. Let's just blow it out of the water, right?
Very
All right. So, with that in mind, we will go ahead and move into a busy Saturday. Let's hope that the Cards do well. We'll see you here next week. Same time, same place, unless, of course, they schedule the UK football game against Louisville at noon. Jared and I will be busy out there doing other things, but certainly let's hope we've got a broadcast for you next week to discuss the joy and excitement of Cardinal sports. Go Cards.